we're talking about one of the most anticipated films in recent times. There's so much buzz around it for so many myriad reasons, and we shall discuss them all with Team Gehraiyaan. I have with me director Shakun Batra. Hi, Shakun.
Hi.
And of course, the stars of the film, Deepika Padukone, Ananya Panday, Siddhant Chaturvedi, and Dhairya Karwa. Hello and welcome.
Hi.
Hi. Hi, Shilpa.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
A casting coup. What a feast on screen currently. And Shakun, this is such a fresh combination you've brought together. It captured everybody's attention from the get-go. What was the casting process like even for this?
I mean, really, it wasn't that difficult. Deepika and I knew each other.
Don't lie, you made me audition for this role.
Oh! No.
He's right.
You are the only one who auditioned. Everybody else I took like that, straight up.
Yeah.
I was like, Baki sabka to I know they are great actors, but Deepika, you must audition for this.
What was it about Deepika that made her audition? What is this story? Did you have any doubts, Shakun?
I mean, I've already said it on the trailer launch. I think Deepika was, like, for me, the first person to come in and be the collaborator with me for an on-screen collaboration. And I think once she was on board, I was charged. I knew we had to go get it made. And then I watched Siddhant on Gully Boy, and then I knew he was a special talent. But it took me a meeting with him over dinner to realize that he's got a huge range, and he can easily, he has such control on his craft that he can go either way with his performance. Ananya and I met a couple of times. She was very close to the part that I was writing, and Aisha, my co-writer, who had worked with Ananya a bunch of times, she was very, very sure that Ananya was right for the part, and Aisha, somebody I work very closely with, and that gave me more confidence. Dhairya, I obviously found in one of the audition tapes, and he was my shortlist right from the word go. So it wasn't tough at all, and it's been amazing. It's been a smooth ride, except COVID. Everything else about this film has been great.
Well, it's great to hear that there wasn't tough for you at all, but I'm sure other directors are going to be so jealous to hear you say, it wasn't a big deal at all getting all these people together. Deepika, good to see you on screen in a completely new avatar. And I feel this is one character that you must have turned inward for the exploration. And what was that process like? Already we're in the midst of a pandemic and so much swirling around you, and then having to turn inward in the midst of all that.
Well, I think the turning inward for me happened several years ago. Having said that, I think we were very fortunate that for us, the pandemic turned out to be slightly different than for most others. And I think we were to go on floors before the first lockdown, and fortunately we hadn't started filming, and the first lockdown happened, and it gave Shakun and all of us time to really spend a lot more time on the script and to make it better and to make it our own. And so when we came out of it, like 3 or 4 months later, I think we had a much better script on hand, or a much more, I'd say, nuanced and a lot more evolved version of the initial script. So yes, this is not to discount, I think, what the world has been through and what we continue to go through. But having said that, our experience was slightly different. And yes, I do recognize that we were very fortunate in that sense. So yeah, I think it just gave us all time. We'd get on Zoom meetings, we'd keep reading our parts. Shakun would keep developing our characters and keep calling us and talking to us about it. So it really gave us that time. As for turning inward, for me, it wasn't really the pandemic per se. I think I've had different personal experiences in my life that had kind of made me do that already, in a sense. And to be honest, I think with every character that I've played, at least on screen, you do turn inward. Every character that's written, you do put a little bit of yourself into it. I have put in every character that I've played, I have put a little bit of myself in every character that I've played. So This was similar in that sense, but it's just maybe I just had to dig deeper based on what what Shakun wanted from me or for this character. So I'd say that's just the only difference, the quantum or how much of it or how much of myself I had to bring to this. But the fact that you put a little bit of yourself in every character, I think that kind of stays consistent throughout all the characters that I've played.
I think dig deeper is the key operative phrase here, because this is, I feel, the rawest we've seen you so far, and an absolute treat, of course. Ananya, whenever two gorgeous women come together on screen, there are always all these rumors that swirl around. But I feel like we're in the 2020s now, and everyone can accept that you and Deepika can be great friends on screen and off screen. How was it working with her?
Honestly, I've only done, this is my fourth film, but I've done two other films with two girl films. And even in those films, I mean, I had wonderful relationships with the women. And I think that's like, it's very wrong to pit two women against each other, because actually most of the actresses in the industry are my biggest supporters. Whenever a trailer comes out or a teaser comes out, they're always the first ones to message me and, kind of be cheerleaders in that way. And especially when it comes to Deepika, I think we formed a very close, almost sisterly relationship. Yeah, it's just been lovely working with her. I've learned so much from her as an actor before this and as a person on the film as well. So yeah.
I love the equation the two of you have on screen from the little I've seen in the trailer. And I think that's what Shakun is so good at all these interpersonal relationships of all sorts. And Siddhant, this definitely is one of the most emotionally deep films or projects that you've been a part of. What was that process of getting on board this, and also being alongside such talented co-stars, once Deepika, once Ananya, contemporary, Dhairya? What was it like sharing screen space with them?
Well, I honestly didn't know how I was going to do it. I remember Shakun, I met him at a dinner, and we just had a, short chat about just life and things. And I knew he was making a film, but I knew that he was looking for somebody more, elder to me. It was more grown up in a way. And I'd just come out of Gully Boy. I had played a guy who was around 28, 29, but I was 24 that time. And even I was not in that space. I just wanted to do those, the things we've grown up watching. I'm a sucker for those kind of films, 500 Days of Summer and all of that. So my idea was very different about love. It was, I would say, the conditioning which we have had since we were kids of rom-coms. So yeah, when Shakun met me and narrated this script to me, and I said yes because I just wanted to work with him, and I didn't know how I was going to do it. I said yes, and then I had a panic attack. I was like, how I'm going to do it, and then I think it's him who eased me into it, and then it was Deepika who got on board, and then she's so comfortable to work with. She made it even easier. And then Ananya, became friends, and Dhairya. So it just became like a family. So, we were all put in these workshops where we used to spend like days, and weeks together from morning to, evening, yoga classes. And then there were like body coach exercises and doing weird stuff. And we kind of bonded there. And even though we were not getting initially the first two classes, I remember there was this, there was this class about just lying down and feeling yourself, and you all like lying down, looking at each other. What the heck are we doing? I mean, it is so funny, like just feel yourself, and then just
We
how
would
it
be
just
like
smell your armpit.
children in school. We were like looking at each other and we'd be like, should we what do we do? It was so funny.
I think
Yeah, but the point was we bonded over all of these things.
That actually helped us.
I think
Yeah.
the absurdity of the situation made us become better friends.
Yeah.
Put people through an absurd experience together, it's that, but
Just bond you.
and it's so funny about these things. You don't know what's going to transform and what's going to translate, because these are such like out there ideas to try, and that's what happened on the film. I feel like that's why we are funny with each other, because we've seen each other do weird shit.
Yeah. It's not like you threw any of them in the deep end, It's not like you put them in Gehraiyaan. You took them to a workshop, clearly. And, I think that's translated beautifully on screen. So there you're having a director like that who really knows what he's doing, is a master of what he does, must be giving a lot of clear directions there, and also helping you out before you get on board such a prestigious project.
Absolutely, you put it perfectly. Because I am still in my nascent stages. I'm still starting out, finding my feet. And when you have a director who's so clear, but more than that, a great person, and he's on the lookout. He's got your back. You feel safe and secure, and it's an environment where you thrive. So that's exactly how I felt and what my experience was on the film. And of course, starting with Shakun, and then like everyone said that we've spent a lot of time together. We've gone through some absurd experiences, and through the journey, we've gotten really close. And yeah, I'm going to cherish this, all the memories and the experiences. It's been a complete experience for me. And
I think it's just starting out, just only now the public is going to
and just imagine for someone who's just starting out and he has this experience. Now the benches, the bar has been set so high for me now. I mean, so
there's no other way.
Maybe
You're too tall to
so
go through anything that's not too high.
It's just a lot of praise coming in for the film, but as soon as the trailer released, or one of the the first publicity materials released, everybody was amazed by the fact that there was an intimacy director on the sets, that you had Dargai, who was the intimacy director. And I feel like all intimate scenes on screen are definitely choreographed, and when the actors don't have to do that, and you have somebody to figure that out for you, definitely as an actor, it must have been such a relief. Deepika, perhaps you could come in?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that it's a great starting point, at least. And I've always approached it like the way you have rehearsals for action, or the way you have rehearsals for a dance sequence. You're taught the steps, and then you kind of flow with it. You make it your own also a little bit. So I think that it's high time that intimacy in our films was given the same kind of platform, I'd say, as dance or as action. And that's never happened. I have done films where, there has been physical intimacy between, my character and other characters, and you're kind of just thrown into it. And now when I think back, it's like that was just, we could have approached it maybe slightly differently. So I think that more so in this film, just because of the kind of film that it is, I think it was extremely necessary. And I'm glad that Shakun had, this sort of idea to do this. But I think what it also helped with was the intimacy between the other characters. And when I mean intimacy, I don't necessarily mean physical intimacy, but there is this sort of unsaid chemistry or unsaid intimacy between the relationships that are maybe not so obvious to you right now when you haven't seen the films. But for example, between Ananya and myself, or Dhairya and Siddhant, or Siddhant and Ananya, and so there's different dynamics. And that's how we started these intimacy workshops. It was not like, oh, Deepika and Siddhant are going to do intimacy workshops. All four of us were thrown into it, because you never know where these characters are going to go.
Shakun, actually, 5 of us.
Oh,
yeah, that's right. So he started with us. So it's not just about the physicality that you see, but it does so much more than that. That no amount of reading or no amount of other kind of prep prepares you for this. And it specifically helps in characters like the way ours are written, where you kind of know each other for so many years. It also helps with things like can I pat this actor on their back? You know, can I put my arm around them, or you know, can I ad lib and say something that's probably not in the script? It kind of gives you, I'd say, the ease to do those kind of things as well, because you've worked with that actor. You know what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, what they're comfortable with, what they're not comfortable with. And I think that, you know, what we've been through with this film is something that we learn not just for this film, but we've gained as actors moving forward as well.
That's fantastic, Deepika. And I love your perspective on it. And I really feel like Shakun is one director who could perhaps, you know, have introduced this in our cinema, and he has. Shakun, my question to you is, you know, whenever we speak about infidelity, there is Kank, you know, that's foremost in our minds. And I feel like that's been Dharma's most controversial film, in the sense that there are still Shah Rukh and Rani fans who are upset about what happened on screen. You know, so was there any convincing at all needed on your part for Dharma to be on board? Like, what was their outlook? Was it like, come on, we have to give it another shot, as in our audience has evolved? Or is it, no, you know, we need to push some boundaries? What do you think?
No, listen, Karan's always been very encouraging for me to try out stories that are outside of the conventional genres. In fact, he was very excited when I told him I wanted to kind of make an infidelity film. And I don't want to really call it infidelity film. I think infidelity is a part of the storytelling. But no, not at all. And I really think we have evolved. We have, over the last few years had so much exposure to shows on Amazon and other OTT platforms that and you can see that people do connect with those stories. And even some of the Indian storytelling that has happened, some of the Pakistani shows that Fawad has been a part of, even though the visually they may restrain, but those stories do connect, and they connect very deeply, because we don't often do that storytelling, and we do a very simplified, sanitized version of love. And as much as people love watching them, they're very aware now that that is a bit of a construct, a film construct of the idea of love. And I think that's why, from whatever little I've heard and I've showed my trailer around, people connect with that, because they're like, oh, I know this too. It's just that I haven't seen it on the screen. So I think that's the thing. They know it, and now they want to be like, oh, I'm glad that I can watch it too. So I'm excited about that,
Absolutely, it happens to us, it happens to people around us, but you never see it on screen, because love is treated so sacrosanct, and actors, stars are treated so sacrosanct, Deepika. I'm sure you have fans who, worship you, think of you as an icon, and, would perhaps not want to see you being, indulging in infidelity on screen of any sort. How did you grapple with that? Was that even a thought that crossed your mind?
No, if I know my audience well, and if I know my fans well, I think I think you're kind of dumbing down the audience by saying that. In fact, I feel like the audience is extremely intelligent today to differentiate the person from the actor and the character that they're playing. You know, Khilji and Padmavat wouldn't be a success if people thought that Ranveer was a villain in real life as well. So I think, sure, I get your point. Was it like that years ago? Yes. But I think cinema has evolved, or let me put it this way, I think the audience has evolved, and with that, cinema has also evolved. And I think it's the audiences and the choices that they make today that allow us to make the kind of films that we do. So I don't think, I know for a fact that the audiences today are ready for this. Otherwise, we wouldn't be making this film. And more importantly, I think they're able to differentiate people and actors from the characters that they play. And third, and most importantly, it's also the way Shakun's treated this film and the way that he's treated these characters. It isn't coming from a place of judgment. It's coming from a place of observation. You're just observing people. And you and I may not endorse certain things that we might see in this film, or certain choices that these characters make, but it would be foolish to think that people like this or characters like this or relationships like this don't exist in the world outside of us. So I think but the difference is that I think we all are trained to look at it in a very judgmental manner, and to kind of put them in boxes and say this is right and this is wrong. And I think the beautiful part about this film is that there's no judgment. You're just observing them for who they are and for what they are and why they've made these choices. Also because you understand where they're coming from and why they've made certain choices.
I love to see the passion with which you approach this, Deepika, and that's infectious enthusiasm for sure. Ananya, Shakun's films always feel like everybody's ad-libbing in the sense that it's so natural. Did you ad-lib at all, or is Shakun quite precious about his dialogue?
No, I didn't think Shakun or Aisha, his co-writer, as well as Chiku, I don't think they were precious at all with their dialogues. I think it was always a discussion. One thing that I really liked about the process of this film was before we'd get into hair and makeup every morning, we'd come and block the scenes on set. And Shakun would let us decide as characters where we would want to stand, if we were comfortable with sitting or standing, how we deliver the dialogue. So it was always a discussion, it was always a conversation, and they weren't possessive about their lines because the film also is very close to reality. The way we're talking is also very close to the way we normally speak. It's a mix of Hindi and English. So it was pretty open that way.
All right, I have so many more questions, but unfortunately, I do have to wrap up. Thank you so much for sportingly taking on all my questions. I know I can't wait to see the film. I know so many millions can't. And thank you so much for entertaining us through this pandemic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank you,
Shilpa.
Lord.